All right, you guys, I don't see anybody else raising your hand, but I know you guys got something. So who wants to go next? Who wants to go? I can hop off early, you guys. I got plenty of things to do today. Eileen, awesome. Let's do this. I'm clicking out. There you go. Cool.
Okay. Well,
Hi,
I have a hi. I have a couple. I have a couple things. I think I absolutely believe that in the law of attraction of vibrations. I got started mainly through Seth, not Abraham, even
okay.
though now I'm at Abraham. But Seth says that we create our thoughts form reality. There's no other rule. So I kind of feel like I would like to make some progress in this area before I leave this plane. But I have my own story, my own sad story, and I don't want to spend any time. I don't want to tell it again.
Okay.
But I feel like I kind of have a problem. Like I know this is with being kind of depressed. And so even though I want to be this upbeat, positive person, I really want to have like this good radiant energy. I feel like when I wake up in the morning, especially, I have a hard time. But I'm trying to work on it. But I have this underlying, even though like I'm really into this, and it usually, I have this underlying feeling. I can feel it of hopelessness. I feel like my problem is that deep down, I feel kind of hopeless. Yeah, and so that's the way that's what it feels to me like. And so I find out what you're saying, I'm really kind of giving it my best shot. But kind of like the other woman said, you look at your screen and you see you only have like a handful of new people online. In a way, it's similar because it's kind of hard to not look back inside myself and say, oh, I pump myself up with these kind of, positive things. And I'm trying to notice pleasant things. But then I sneak a back look at myself. I sneak a look inside and I say, oh, darn,
Oh,
there's
shit.
that crummy feeling again. I'm always going to feel, I don't know, I don't think I can do this. I'm probably the only person in the world who can't do, this law of attraction, and so that's one problem. And then, so that's one thing, I'm trying to figure out how to raise my vibration level more often. And then the other thing is I'm trying to convince myself, you know, um, this is kind of, I don't know, this is kind of personal, I guess. So probably I shouldn't go there.
It's
But
100% what you feel. If you feel comfortable, I'm happy to work through it with you. If you're not comfortable, you don't have to. But it's 100% up to you. There's nothing is off limits here.
yeah, well, do you want to talk about what I talked about so far?
Yeah,
Or do
definitely.
you know,
Let's get started with what we've talked about already. So, are you on board with the idea that Eileen, I can't remember when you joined me. So I don't know. I can't remember if you have been through the intro to law of attraction and the
um,
dismantling belief system workshops.
yeah, oh yeah,
Okay.
online. I think it's been a couple months maybe.
Okay.
But yeah, I've listened to a lot of your things. By the way, do you post? I can't come to the Sunday night meetings. Do you post those?
In the
Do
Mighty
you have this?
Networks.
Yeah,
Are you
okay.
you're in there, right?
I don't know. I guess I am. I'm a member. I mean, I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. I will message you in the system, and then I will actually, did you watch the video of the tour of Mighty Networks?
No,
Okay, I
no, I
will
didn't know there was such a thing. I get a little mixed up. Sometimes I just go in there and I just end up on like, I just kind of like I listen to whatever I can find.
well, listen, I will make, so everybody, what she's talking about is my website, Law of Attraction with Aaliyah, it's a membership site where you have access to the full intro to Law of Attraction. It's like 10 videos, an hour and a half of content, and then a full workshop on how to actually shift your energy. And I also post all the recordings of the meetups in there, which is like great because then you can watch them on your own time. So what I will make sure, Eileen, is that even if I have to personally like do a Zoom call with you and screen share and show you exactly how to get to them, I'll make sure that you do that. So I'll message you in there or something like that and make sure you know how to navigate that. So you have watched it. So this is going to be really easy. So you understand that your current story has a vibration that continues to manifest more reasons to believe that story. Does that resonate with you?
Like repeat it again. Can say it again.
So this applies to all of us. Whenever we have a story,
right,
which is usually just like what you just told me, right? If we're friends and going out for a cup of coffee and you're like, Aaliyah, let me break this down for you, blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. Just the same thing we just did. That's a story, right? And we don't think of it as a story. We think of it as, let me just get you up to speed with what's going on. But this is the default way we think. We think these phrases all the time, and all this entire story, all of these phrases come loaded with an emotion, right? So as we tell the story, we are emanating the energy of the story, which means we are manifesting more proof that that story is correct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I'm trying not to tell my story too much. I'm trying to,
you know what?
Cut down on it, on that, my version on, but I'm new, like I'm sort of new to Asheville. I live in Asheville. And, I've been here a while, but the pandemic slowed things down. So when I meet new people, it's kind of like, hard to leave certain things out when I'm telling about myself. Yeah. Somehow I'm telling the old version.
I'm so excited that you brought this up, because we're going to do so much good energy work with this. And I love that. Like, God bless you, right? Like, you're trying not to tell your story. You're showing up to the meetups all the time. You're here. You started a while ago. So first off, you're doing fucking fantastic. Okay. You're doing fucking fantastic. You are ahead of 98% of the rest of the world, just because you are attempting and you're on this pathway. Okay. So you're doing great. And just what we're going to do right now, you're going to do a quantum leap in just the next couple minutes, because we're going to just fix this little nugget that's keeping you there. In trying to not tell your story, that is great, right? You're trying not to say the words, but it's still all in there. But here's the thing. Everybody, none of us can stop doing anything, because in the trying to stop, we are aware of the thing we're trying to stop. And so we keep that fucking thing activated. Right? So we can't actually stop anything. The only thing we can actually do is start something new. And practice that, so that grows and grows and grows. And then the other thing fizzles. So what we want to do, which we're going to do right now, is we're going to write you a new little story, right? I was taking notes the whole time. So we're going to write you a new blurb, so you know exactly what to say. So when you catch yourself telling the old story, you're going to take out your piece of paper and write this new one. Now, for those of you who have been with me, when we do a rewrite like this, there's two things that are critical. This is how we double check to make sure that we did the work right, is when we write the story, the result must be we feel better than we felt before, and it needs to be believable. So if we're like, hey, listen, I'm super depressed and I'm trying to convince myself to be like a radiant, positive human being, if we're trying to specifically manifest being positive and radiant, then likely we won't believe that shit, right? Because we got too much proof that we're depressed. So there's no amount of writing that is going to convince ourselves, if we're depressed, that we can be positive. It's too big of a jump. We have the emotional scale, and down here is hopelessness, depression, anger, right? Being pissed off. You can see I'm moving up the scale. Over here is joy, right? In the middle is neutral. So we've got the scale. Down at the bottom is hopelessness, depression, anger, being pissed off, being annoyed, being disappointed, being like slightly annoyed, right? Feeling just like, oh, I don't know, like things are just going, right? And then we hit neutral. And now we're on the other side of the scale. So now we're like, all right, things are okay. And maybe they get to pretty good. And maybe we're like a little bit hopeful. Maybe just we'd like to be hopeful. Then we get to like, hey, things are okay. Then we get to things are looking like maybe they might be good. And then we get to good. And then we start making our way over to like, hey, this shit works. And I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the relief. And now I'm experiencing some happiness and joy, right? That's a big scale. If we do any work where we try to jump that entire scale, that shit ain't gonna work because it's too big of a job. We only want to micro shift. If we're depressed and hopeless, if we can get to annoyed or angry, that's a huge success, right? If we can go from hopeless to anger, that's double high five status over here because we shifted. And if then we can live in anger for a couple days, a week, and then we shift to being pissed off, double high five status again, right? Because we shifted. Then now we're annoyed. Now we want to, if we can then go from annoyed to disappointed, double high five status, right? Same thing. If we go from feeling good to great, that's also double high five status. It's not more than double high five status, right? Going from good to great in my eyes is the same as going from angry to pissed off. So anytime we prove to ourselves that we can do these little shimmies up the scale, I know that just with a matter of consistency and time, we'll make our way up there. I've never seen it not work with somebody who's like, I'm going to do this. And Eileen, you've been coming to the meetups. I know you're in this for the long haul. I know that you are with the right tool. We'll do this. So I am so excited for you because you are so much closer than you even realize.
Mhm.
So what we're going to do is, this is what your story is. I took notes, right? I have a problem with depression. I want to be an upbeat, positive person. I feel like when I wake up in the morning, I have a hard time. I am trying, but I know my problem is that I feel hopeless. I then think things like, I'm always going to feel this way. And am I the only one in the whole wide world who can't do this? Does that pretty much sum it up?
Yeah.
So what we want to do is we want to rewrite this. I'm going to share my screen so you guys can follow along with me. Hold on a second. Let's see. Share screen. I think it's this one. Yeah. Okay.
And then, yeah, I guess the hopelessness can feed into doubt too. So that's not a good thing.
Nope. So we're going to play around now. And let me just check something. Yeah, you know, Eileen, nobody else is raising their hand. So we're going to take as much time as we need right over here. So let's see. So this is when we're just going to rewrite each one of these lines. And then we're going to take these lines and we are going to put them together. And what we're just trying to result in is like a couple of lines that when we read, we're like, oh, wow, that feels like good. Like, okay, this feels like a relief. This feels good. So that's what we're trying to do here. So I have a problem with depression. So I would start with something like, I wonder if I could ever relieve my depression. Do you wonder that?
Well, sometimes, yeah, I do. I can't because I get temporary reprieves, I can temporarily lift but I feel like I'm always like pumping up the tire and then the tire deflates again. Do you know what I'm saying? So, yep. So so I wonder if I could ever really, I do. And I have like, I wonder what it would be like. I've listened to you. I wonder what it would like to be happy or to feel good, right? That's what you say.
Eileen, that's too far. That's not what I'm going to do because that's too far ahead, right? So we can't wonder what it's like to be happy. We want to wonder what it's like to be pissed off.
Yeah. Well, now that's an interesting, now that is new to me. The idea of that being angry and annoyed is better than being depressed. Now that's a difference in the scale. You know what I mean? I wouldn't consider that an upgrade.
It is a big upgrade. It is how we navigate the emotional scale because it won't work. So all that's been going on, Eileen, is that you've been trying to jump too far, and maybe you see a glimpse of it, but you have such a strong momentum at the bottom of the scale that you keep getting pulled back. And that's what's happening, right? You try to get happy, you get a little taste of it, and you get pulled back. And then you're trying to stop telling the story, but in the pursuit of stopping, we keep it active, even if we're not saying the words. So what we need to do, there's two key things here for you, right? Number one is we need to strive to get, I'm not sure the right emotion for you, but strive to get to, disappointment, right? Or annoyed, or
those don't sound like those aren't exactly uplifting. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like trying to be disappointed isn't like, when I feel like, disappointed, that doesn't make me feel good.
Okay, we'll find something that works, because what we want to do is we want to find an emotion that feels, and we don't even need to actually get there, right? What we want to do is we want to find some nugget that does feel better and is believable. Because if you can wonder what happiness feels like for 5 seconds, but then you automatically have a gremlin that says, but you're probably, you saw it, but you're probably actually going to feel this other thing, then it's not going to work. So these are the two things, right? So I'll write these two things. One, we have to feel better. And right here for you, I'm not saying you need to feel good, right? I'm saying you need to feel better. So we want something that feels better, not necessarily good. Maybe if we can get to good, fine, but not necessary. And it has to be believable. Okay. So these are the two things that we're shooting for.
Yeah. Well, I think that I almost have to do it in like maybe short time periods, like, like for the next half an hour, or what I'm going to do I'm going to go do this, exercise class or this training, and it could be fun. It could be, I don't know,
half an hour is a really long time. Like, how about we shoot for like 2 minutes? Right? Like, let's set ourselves up for success here.
Okay.
Like so when I first started all of this, I was in a job that I really didn't like. The job originally started really good. I was in San Francisco. I was managing a team. Then the company was having issues with a sales model, and I had a background in that. So I volunteered to go down to Southern California and take over this team to see if I manage this team the way good management works, will we be able to get this unit working? So when I went down there, I was down there for a year, but in the middle, I realized this is actually we have rock star status people who have incredible integrity and high skill. There's a flaw in the model. Okay. But I hadn't put all that together. So while I was down there, I developed this fuck, I don't want to do this. I don't like this. I don't like this. Because it just felt like this environment where it didn't matter what we did, right? So didn't want to do it. And I was tormented all day long with the thought of, I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this. And the only time I had a reprieve was when I was in the Starbucks line for 5 minutes. Okay. So then I learned about Abraham Hicks. And the first thing that I was like, I don't know if this is going to work, but it inside feels correct. It feels like this resonates with me. I've got no other idea of how to deal with this. So I am going to basically just do this stuff and then see what happens. And so I learned the list of positive aspects and I created my list. This was the very first thing I did. And my commitment was, whenever I hear myself say, I don't want to do this, I'm going to take out the list and start reprogramming, right? Which was, I hear, I don't want to do this. And I'd take it out. I'd imagine that cute photo of me and my brother when we were little. And I'd be like, oh, that's so cute. That's so cute. For 30 seconds, that's so cute. That's so cute. Because what we're doing is we're shifting neurotransmitters in the brain, because this entire list of beliefs that you have is only a repetitive chemicals in your brain. There's nothing actually going. These aren't actually true, right? They're just thoughts you've been thinking for so many years. And so you've been manifesting the proof of these things. And so you just have really strong energy with these things, which is hand in hand also neurotransmitters that make in your brain that make up these thoughts that are present there. And each time you think a thought, those neurotransmitters shoot down that thought pathway. And when you think it a million times, that thought pathway is really, really wide. And so whenever you're going to think something, it's really easy for those little neurotransmitters to walk down that path. And in order to, and it's really from a law of attraction perspective, it's really easy because now you are attracting that thought. You have an energy built up, so you're manifesting thinking that thought. So if we want to think a new thought, it's like we have to take our machete out, right? And we have to like bushwhack a new trail. And like the first time we go down that trail, there's like branches and roots and trees everywhere. And it's not easy. But when we do it, we are practicing, right? And it's the same thing. When we decide in our brain, I want to think a new thought, I want to, rather than declaring to the world and the universe, I have depression, which is building, a prison around us, which is basically dictating, I will have this forever. As long as we say, I have this problem, we can never not have this problem. So what we do is we create a tiny new phrase that cracks open the door for some little sliver of light possibility that might not be true. And that's the equivalent of taking your machete out, bushwhacking a new trail. But that takes effort. And so in all of everything, we're saying do inspired action, but there's one thing we have to force ourselves to do. There's one thing that we have to effort our way through, which is this initial thought changing thing, which is we have to effort bushwhacking that new pathway in the brain. And then we start practicing it. So when I would take my list of positive aspects, I had the intention of, I am going to catch myself and then use this process, because even though picturing me and my brother when we were little has nothing to do with that, it's overall raising my vibration. And as I overall raise my vibration, the crappy vibration will fizzle out. So I set the intention to do this as much as possible. Week 1, I caught myself one time for the whole week. One time I caught myself, right? Week 2, maybe it was 2 or 3 times the entire week, right? I'm spending all day, every day thinking, I don't want to do this because I have a momentum going that's making it really easy. I have a wide pathway in my brain that says, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be here. And it's really easy to walk down that path. And it's law of attraction is making it easy for me to go down there. So when I am saying, okay, I want to catch myself and reroute, that's the bushwhacking, right? So week 1, week 2, and that's okay. I'm not saying it's not hard, but I 100% know you can do it. 100% know you can do it. And because look at even me, week 2, I didn't even catch myself every day. Maybe like week 3 or 4, I was at like once a day. And can you imagine me 11 years ago thinking 500 times a day, I don't want to do this, and it taking me 4 weeks to catch myself one time a day. So this is my message to you, to go easy on yourself and allow yourself to just setting the intention, I would like to catch myself, and just doing the process, you will get there. And it takes a month, amazing, a month, and now you're catching yourself once a day. That's huge success, right? At the time for me, I didn't see it like that, because I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm not catching myself. But when I would even hear that, I would say, shift, take out my list and shift. So then within 2 or 3 months, I then am catching myself all day long, right? Then it moves to twice a day, 3 times a day, 4 times a day, 10 times a day. And at some point, like 2, 3 months in the process, I'm just laughing because I can't believe how often my brain is fucking out of control. And I'm laughing because, and that's a good sign, but I'm laughing, I'm doing the process, I'm shifting. And now I'm now starting sensing a shift in myself. Now, rather than feeling completely like, I don't know what to do with this job, and I feel incredibly stuck and I don't know what to do. Now, as I'm shifting my energy, things don't seem so set in stone, like no pathway. So I'm sharing the story because I want you to give yourself a little bit of time and space to like slowly do this. Because if I can get you to catch yourself and do this process 30 seconds one day, and it takes us a month to get there, that's huge success, because then you are at the same cadence I was at 11 years ago.
Is that the same thing as setting the alarms for 3 times a day and having some positive statements that you read? Is that
Yeah,
the shift?
that's another option. So you can use these processes like in multiple ways, right? So bonus points if you set your alarm 3 times a day. I didn't even have that idea 11 years ago, right? So I didn't do that. Maybe I did and I just didn't want to do it, because maybe like the alarm goes off and you're like, oh, I don't want to do that, right? So anytime if there's a process and you kind of don't feel like doing it, then don't do it. So I don't remember if I didn't think of it or if I just didn't want to do that because I was really busy throughout the day. So yes, if you can set your alarm 3 times a day and just say, hey, for 3 times a day, I'm going to take 30 seconds. That's fantastic. The more we do this stuff, the better. But you also could just say, I want to catch myself. And when I catch myself, say something else. And you can and there's kind of 2 things going on. There's different levels of process, right? There's one process, which is the list of positive aspects, which we have a list of random things that make us feel good. And whenever we think of something, we take one of those things and milk it. That's one process. That's what we just talked about in the last session.
And you're saying that it doesn't matter if it's a positive emotion, like like if I'm mad about something this is like maybe not the best example, but you're saying that feeling mad at some of the things, like some of the politicians, things like something going on, you're saying it would be better for me to think about that because at least it's not depression. You know what I'm saying? Because then I'd be mad. You said being mad is better than being sad. So, something that would make me mad, it's like shifting. Is that a shift?
That's kind of like another subject, right? So that is
that's what I thought you said. I thought you said anything that makes you feel different.
Well, what I want to do is what I want to do is we want to end up feeling better. So if you are like, listen, I spend my days thinking about ending my life. However, when I do politics, I get angry and I stop thinking about killing myself, then I would say yes. But
I'm really not that political. I mean, I'm not that. I try to accept, right. I try to, but that just came to my mind.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So if that was the case, if it was just like if you are so bad that actually feels better, if it actually feels better, I'm not saying good, but it actually feels better, then yes, I would say focus your attention on anything that feels better than where you are. However, it sounds like that's maybe tied in. So you would have to make that call. If you when you look at politics and you're like, oh man, these guys are a bunch of jerk offs or whatever, and if you like if that feels better, that feels like a relief from whatever you would be thinking otherwise, then yes, right? I have a hobby where I like to bitch about coffee, okay? And I know I do this and I think it's funny and it's not that big of a deal. And my partner loves to say, Aaliyah, as you bitch about the lack of good coffee in our area, you are not contributing to the manifestation of a really good coffee shop. And I giggle and I know, and I am okay with being a little naughty in that moment. Okay. So there's kind of you can decide for yourself. I think I have fun bitching about coffee and I'm not really that worried about it. And so I do it because I don't know, I think it's funny. So for politics,
so it makes you feel, so it actually makes you feel kind of good because you think it's kind of funny. You're laughing at yourself underneath it.
On some level. So if going to politics makes you makes you really, really, truly mad, then I'd be like, I don't think that's really the direction. But if going to politics and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe what's going on or whatever. And if it feels like a good distraction from whatever else, but keep in mind, we're not going to stay there very long, right? We're going to stay there for a couple days because as as soon as we go from depressed to anger and we settle on anger, which will take a couple days, maybe one day, then we are going to go to, being annoyed. And we're not going to stay in any of these very quickly for very long, right? A couple days max likely. So if today you are feeling so hopeless and crazy depressed, and today reading politics makes you legitimately feel better, then okay. However, the real work I want to do,
it might make me feel more energized, more energized,
maybe.
because being kind of hopeless is not very energizing.
But what I really want to do though, is where I really want your shifting to come from is by shifting your story, right? So that's just kind of an activity. That's like, hey, I enjoy going for a walk in a beautiful nature. I'm going to go for a walk because that kind of is like supporting everything. So if that's for you is like a hobby you kind of enjoy, like going for a walk, fine. But I wouldn't be able to only go for a walk and think that is going to shift my energy permanently. I would have to do that along with shifting the story.
Well, I thought that would be a micro shift. Isn't that a micro shift where you take a walk? It's just temporary, but it is like a shift, right?
Yeah.
But it's just a momentary shift. But you're saying that I really need to have a story.
We have to do a shift. So whenever we have things we enjoy, like walking, travel, going out to coffee, going out to eat, having a glass of wine, these are all things that are external from us. And if our sole strategy is to shift external things, then we're going to be spending our entire life trying to control the external things to feel better. So I think those are all really nice things to do when we're feeling better, but I don't see any possibility to harness law of attraction without actually shifting the thoughts and the emotions we feel, which don't require a walk, don't require reading politics, don't require anything other than sitting our ass down in our seat and rewriting something to replace the old shitty thing with something that feels a little bit better and is believable.
I'll go back and really do the exercises that you have in a couple of your talks. You have rewriting your story, right?
Yeah, but you're not getting off the phone. You're not getting the phone. We're on the phone. You're not getting up here with me. We're going to do a draft for you. We're going to get your first draft done right now. Okay. So, and then you can refine this later. Cause I can't say that, I'm like going to get this on the first shot. Cause we only have a couple minutes. We're actually a little bit over, but I don't want to get off the phone without giving you some sort of jump start here. So things like, I have a problem with depression, right? I'm just going to bust out a bunch of options. You can refine this on your own time. And then you need to email me your refined version. Okay. Or message me any way you can, email, meetup, in Mighty Network. So,
thanks.
Yep, of course. So I have a problem with depression. So one option, I wonder if I could ever relieve my depression, or another option could be like, even though I've had depression, I hope there is some new pathway for me. So for me, like, maybe this is too far out. Maybe the word hope will trigger you and you're like, no, I don't have any hope. But this is a couple options.
Well, I noticed you use the word solution quite a bit. I don't know, at least I've seen it a few times, like where you rephrase something.
Yeah, totally. I wonder if there's a solution, right? I wonder, because can you see the vibration? Can you feel the vibrational difference from saying, I have a problem with depression, right?
Yeah.
That has a vibration that is going to continue that. However, if we can say, I wonder if there's a solution, and we believe, like when we say this, you can see it feels better to say that, like the energy of, I wonder if there's a solution.
Yeah.
That actually has a better vibration, and maybe it's believable. So what we want to do here is find one for you that is the most believable and feels a tiny bit better.
Okay. And then that's like bushwhacking, right?
Yes.
I like that. So that even if I don't feel an immediate strong response, if I keep repetitive, I'll build.
Eileen, I'm not looking for strong. I'm looking for micro. I'm looking for Oh, that feels a little bit better.
Okay.
That's
Well,
all.
and then I have to feel hopeful, because then I can feel, it's hard. Then I can sort of think, oh, this isn't working.
Yeah, I would say like I would want to settle on if you have, I wonder if there's any solution. If you can genuinely believe that and be like, I wonder, I really don't know. And it's okay if the answer is I don't know, right?
Mhm.
I wonder if I could ever relieve it. I don't know, right?
Yeah,
Because
but you're saying the repetition is actually building a different neural pathway,
yes,
whether
100%.
I know whether it feels like it or not, or if it just
I would
feels like it.
want you to feel it a tiny bit. I would want you to at least be able to say, Aaliyah, you know what? On some teeny weeny little level, it does feel better to say, I wonder if there's a solution rather than say, I have a problem with depression. I would want you on
Mhm.
some tiny level to be like, yeah, you know what? It kind of feels a little bit better. If you're like, Aaliyah, it doesn't feel better because if I say this, I activate a gremlin that says, no, you have no solution.
Right.
So we would need to find something like maybe we need to even go back even further, which is like, I'm not sure. Let's think about it. So I guess, do you feel like, do either any of these three statements not activate a gremlin?
Yeah, I think that I do kind of like that solution, idea that, well, you know, yes, I'm depressed, but now, and maybe I haven't feel like I've always, I've had this problem or something, but it's entrenched. But, you know, uh, I have to believe that there's a solution, you know.
Or I would like to
That
believe? What feels better? Like maybe I could believe, like I've had depression
I'll keep
and
trying.
I wonder if there maybe could be a solution.
Yeah, that I just don't know about that or that if, that I'm working on with the LOA. Maybe LOA, that's part of the solution that I'm working on. So that kind of makes me feel a little better because you're a potential solution. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? So that makes me feel, when I listen to you, that makes me feel better, So
great.
anyway, I really think that what separates you from, what I've seen is the micro shifting. I think that's really good because, I read Seth for years, but I realized I wasn't really practicing it. It was just staying mental. It was just ideas and I didn't know, like, well, I create my reality, but this idea of micro shifting and trying to make it believable, it's very practical. So I think that this is useful. It's useful to people instead of just being like an idea.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks very much. You give me a lot of time, and I get it, and I do get the mic. I'll scale down my jumps.
Yeah.
My mental jumps out to, just small expectations.
Okay, great.
So I'm going to send you. I listened to a couple talks. I just stumbled across both of them last night, and they weren't about LOA, but they kind of, how sometimes. But I thought that you might be interested in them because they have that ring, of LOA, and it being presented in a different way. So I'll let you know. Thanks a lot. I know your time's
Totally.
up.
I'm posting here in the chat. I don't know if it's easy for you to copy and paste, but I'm posting here in the chat those notes on my
Oh,
screen.
good.
So
Okay.
but you're gonna need to copy and paste them before I end this. Do you know how to copy and
Right.
paste from the
Well,
chat?
I wrote them down. I was kind of writing while I talked,
Okay,
but
I'm gonna send it to
I'll
you
go in the
in the.
post.
I'm gonna send you a message in.
I'll I'll let me see. I have okay. Well, hang on a minute. I think I can cut
Are
and
you
paste.
in? Are you in there as Allie Wallace?
Yeah,
Okay, that's it. Oh wait, I'm going to. I'm sending you
I
a message.
copied I
Okay.
copied the message.
Okay, good. So I want you to work on let's just get the first one done, right? Because that's really, you could do everything with just that one little sentence, where now the intent, like I said, like when I started, I just started with, when I hear myself say this, I pick one of these things. So rather than using a list of positive aspects, we can just jump to it. This process is like a little bit speedier than the list of positive aspects if we can hit the nail on the head and have a really powerful, one phrase rewrite. And so then, like, let's say we get that, like, let's say that last thing is it. Let's say that it's like, I've had depression and I wonder if there could possibly be some solution, right? If we can get you to say that 100 times a day, 10 times a day, 1 time a day, I'm happy with, then all of a sudden you are going to be activating the emotional muscle of wonder. And when you can wonder, the universe will bring that answer to you. And then all of a sudden you're going to like Google something for the first time, or like just by activating one new emotion of wonder, and you do that, I don't know, a couple days, a week or so, you're consistently doing it. If it takes you 3 months to get to activating it regularly, that's also cool. So whenever it happens, whenever you end up at the point where you are consistently activating wonder, you will notice your entire world starting to change.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. I think that would help other people too. That idea of wonder, because you said it, but you haven't emphasized. Yeah, I wonder, that there's power in that.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying, there's power. So, okay. Bye.